Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. La 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 la, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Boker Tov. We continue to work our way through Kriyat Shema Ubirchoteha, the section of the service that is about the Shema and the recitation of its blessings around it. Yesterday we looked at the blessing after Shema, Geula. We introduced that blessing as one that speaks of God's liberating acts in human history, as exemplified by the exodus from Egypt and the parting of the sea. And today I'd like to focus on a verse from the middle of this longish blessing that further concentrates on that area. The verse says, Mi Mitzrayim ga'altanu Adonai Eloheinu mi beit abadim peditanu. You liberated us from Egypt, O Holy One, and you redeemed us from the house of bondage. So again, in a blessing that is focused on the Holy One's liberating power in human history, this act of delivering us from Egypt becomes the paradigm for all future acts of liberation. As Rabbi Elliot Dorff notes, this is essentially the birth story of the Jewish people. The Exodus narrative defines us as a people who are born into slavery, who are delivered by the Holy One, and then led to Sinai to receive the Torah and live by its mandate to be a holy nation. Birth stories tell us what is important in the life of a people, not just its beginning, but the ongoing life of the people. Seeds there are sown for what we will become. So it is worth noting that the Holy One redeemed us from Egypt, not because we were of enormous size or because we were mighty and powerful, or even because we were more worthy than anyone else. But God saw us as potential partners in the work of healing the world. And we remember this journey out of Egypt. It becomes our defining moment, act of liberation, precisely because that memory of that birth story compels us to work toward the liberation of others. So let's focus a little this morning on that line and how we are often in Egypt. Egypt is a narrow place in Hebrew, a constricted place. So let's reflect for a moment on the narrow places and the constricted passages in our own lives. We might consider in this season of confinement for all of us, where am I feeling most constricted right now? Where am I hurting? Where can I use some liberation? And what might help me to either break out of that confinement, if not physically, then more important, spiritually, or to at least find some spaces, some glimmers of liberation still within that space. Because physical space isn't everything. Natan Sharansky, the Jewish leader who spent many, many years in prison in Russia, was once asked about that time in prison, and he said, once I acknowledged who I was as a Jew and applied to go to Israel, they stuck me in jail, but I was then spiritually free. So how can we find some spiritual freedom within our confined places? And just as important, how can I partner with the Holy One in the work of bringing liberation to others, because it's not enough to just seek our own. Where do I see the presence of the divine in my journey toward the promised land, and how can I help bring others along the way? Mi Mitzrayim geltanu, mi Beit Avadim pelitanu. Mi Mitzrayim geltanu, mi Beit Avadim pelitanu. Mi Mitzrayim geltanu, mi Beit Avadim pelitanu. You liberated us from Egypt, and from the house of bondage you delivered us. You liberated us from Egypt, Adonai Eloheinu, and from the house of bondage you delivered us. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And we will conclude this morning with the counting of the Omer. Today we focus on Hod in Netzach, in the majestic that is contained within our endurance. Reflect on people you know who have endured through challenging times with majesty, with enormous honor and integrity that shines out to the world. And ask yourself, how can I bring majesty, bring dignity to the endurance that I need to get me through some of my challenges today, to get me out of my Egypts and to help others out of theirs. Hayom Shisha V'Esrim Yom, Shehem Shlosha Shavuot B'Chamisha Yamim LaOmer. Today is 26 days of the Omer, 3 weeks and 5 days.